All right, so this should hopefully be a really good game. I, of course, don't know. This game has been going on for a bit, but according to the dashboard I'm looking at, this is currently a live game and two players around the 2K level, so not quite the super pro level, but they're close. Top maybe 400, 300? I don't know. They're playing a 1v1 at the moment. We have Kaput. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this. I know this is a French player, though. I am very familiar with these players. Currently at 2050 elo. And Kaputz is playing as the Malians, and it's mega random. So not only is it a nomad start, so they don't know what's out there, but like, oh god. Well, I guess that TC is going to be as good as any. You can see how Blue's thinking about it. And then Blue's like, oh, there's big wood here. Let's TC there. And I much prefer this TC for obvious reasons. A lot more wood to chop. On the other side, we have Red. Now, Gwiffy is how I'll say this. And this player is playing as the Teutons. And this is a German player. Again, I played all these guys. I've seen these guys around over the last couple years. Very familiar with them. And I would say that Kaputz is definitely the favorite. If I had to guess, I think Gwiffy likes like more closed maps. And so what happens at times is some players will favorite the closed maps and other players will favorite the open maps. And then if they banned each other's favorite type of map, you end up in the middle, which is mega random in this case. All right, so the map has three giant wood lines toward... Oh, okay. Two giant wood lines towards the middle. There's tons of relics. I actually want to zoom out and see if I could double-click the relics. Bear with me. This is a lazy man's way of counting the relics. 22 relics on it. Whoa. So we could see a lot of monks. You do have water. And on the water, you've got places to hunt as well if you ever want to venture out there. From Red's position, I was a little worried about Red's TC location. But Red can see a lot of stuff, right? Red can see plenty of sheep. Red can see a boar. Red can see some of these ibex to be able to hunt. The only thing I think Red will not notice, though, is where the opponent is located. And sometimes players will find each other scouting with sheep. You see Blue scouting with sheep, scouting with sheep. But again, I doubt Blue will venture over to Red anytime soon. Isn't this the same map that you played Dave on with the Wolves? It might be similar. Like, Mega Random is not so random these days. I think what it does is it'll, like, cycle through the same map gens, but it'll change the situation. So, in this case, they didn't start with a TC. But yeah, it does actually ring a bell for me, to be honest. I'm not sure if the water was there. Okay, so as far as the starts go and the civilizations go, I much prefer Blue start. And I also think I prefer Blue civilization, at least for a nomad start. So you've got cheaper wood buildings with this civ. I think what I would suggest, if you see this water, is I would come out here and dock. Now, Mega Random never really gives you a ton of fish. So for that reason, both players might just be thinking, why on earth would I fish when Mega Random spawns water with few deep fish? But still feels like if you've got enough food to keep your TC producing, which Blue does currently, and then you have cheaper docks, that it would make sense to attempt it. That's something I've been disappointed about. It's like, there's a lot of water on Mega Random, and I think they do it for fairness reasons, because they don't want, like, too much fish. But, I mean, imagine docking here, getting 200 food, and then that being it. I actually think the more I talk about this docking, I guess Blue has scouted very thoroughly to see where the fish is, and just doesn't see enough. So, says, you know what, we're going to give up on that dream. All right, here comes Red. So far, Red has had the worst start. Red has 30 seconds of TC idle time. Also did have to research the loom, which is fine, especially because the villager would have died without it here. But yeah, that just sets Red back a little bit for the time being. Man, my worry for Red would be long-term wood control. Now, as far as your strategies go, you do have the gold right next to the TC. And that would make me think a little bit more about a fast castle play. Look at Red. This is really smart. So Gweffy's going to go over here, grab the sheep. And then, boom, grabs the boar. So you have 100 food to scout with or just to bring home. Now you're also going to bring home 340 food. And this should work out. How many sheep do we have here? We've got 8 sheep. The thing that's deceiving for me sometimes is in almost all build orders that I'm used to, you have either fish or berries to go fast castle. So not being able to have a mill with berries definitely would screw you up a little bit. And there's going to be a mill here, and that's fine, because you can farm around it later, and then you can also, you know, use this to take the deer. But again, it's just like an experience that I have where I will not be able to calculate things in a mega random start quite as much if I'm not fishing or if I don't have berries, because I just don't encounter those situations enough in normal maps. Like, think about a water map like Islands. Typically, I'm fishing, but I'm not taking berries until much later. Or like Arena. There's no fish and there's berries. Anyways, it's just a weird hang up in my mind. I don't know if anyone else understands what I'm even talking about right now. Okay, so at this point, blue should know red is here. Because a sheep was lost here. And then red actually has not located blue at all. I think this has been the same sheep just scouting around. Yeah, imagine getting Mongols on this map. There's a reason a lot of people pick Mongols for Mega Random, because it's likely that there's going to be a lot of hunt on the map. But also you have the scouting bonus. I mean, Mongols are the best Mega Random civilization. Because even if there's not extra hunt, you at least have great scouting, which is always helpful to find whatever else you need. I know it's rare with my uploads, guys, on a map that doesn't start with stone walls. But I believe this is going to be fast castle from both of them. Again, without the berries. You've got red over here coming to the woodline. Again, I think that's really smart thinking. Very resourceful from both of them to take the hunt, take as many boars as possible. And we shall see what the play is. I mean, if Gwethy is worried about knights and siege, which can happen on fast castles, you could always go for monks with the Teutons. It's just always like, so on different maps where you start with the scout, you can look to see what someone's doing, where they are. But on this map, you're so blind for so long, it definitely changes things. It's more about guessing correctly, or maybe not guessing. I guess having good game sense. I think it's a mix of both. And then, of course, scouting with sheep to try and get whatever information you can. All right. T90, can we look at the percentage of maps scouted at this point? Sure. Yeah, so this is blue scouting. Honestly, the scouting's incredible. This is incredible. Started with 3 villagers and nothing else, and here we are. What's the APM look like for blue? That's got to be sheep scouting, right? Like, that's why the APM is so high. It's just waypoints being set by sheep. That's part of it, at least. And the red scouting is also pretty good. And red lost the sheep here. So at some point, red will think, oh, where'd my sheep go? Okay, this is where the line stopped. This is likely where the town center is. And red has also seen the wood line, so must assume that the TC is kind of up on the hill. All right, we have a stable. And we should have a blacksmith. Okay. So this is a good opening. I really like it. Even if you're not going to make knights, just making 1 scout would be awesome. Just to see the map. And again, that eliminates some of the worry that you'd have without the scout, like I just said before. And we have the same build order here for Kaput. And Kaput clicks up. Didn't have a lumber camp yet. We'll add that and probably research the wood upgrade. You don't really need to have... it's very common on Nomad starts to delay the lumber camp if you TC a big woodland like this. Obviously, in Red's case, Red really needed this one. And we should have a scout on the way for blue. Actually, I want to check the resources collected. And so this might not seem like a lot, but this is a nice little boost right now. They're essentially in the same position in terms of what they're trying to do. Something that does get eliminated, though, from the equation when you're up against Teutons is going for a lot of monks, which is very common in these instances. Okay, so blue's making a scout. Red's actually making scout number 2. So he's going to scout here. And has another scout on the way. And I mean, if these villagers were spotted here, those scouts could come over here and get kills too. Okay, red. Good thing another scout's on the way. Red has found the TC now. Obviously, red didn't know 100% where that TC was. Probably could have been a little bit more careful, though. And honestly, might end up assuming that the villagers are not exposed over here at the moment. Oh, man, there's a lot of relics. And there's another stable coming up. And there's forging. I don't think this game is going to go on for very long. I think this is going to be an all-in aggressive play from red. Again, based on everything I know, is a player who likes more of the closed maps, more of the arena style, which focuses a bit more on monks. And is also the underdog with the elo, too. So it would make sense, right? The blue player is going to play a little bit more standard, has more confidence in all the small things that you need to do throughout the long term. Red might not have that as much. This TC, it feels like a good idea, right? Like, it cuts off the choke point, it gives you some wood, and it gives you some gold. But also, there's just something about how inviting that is for the enemy that makes it maybe not the best idea. I guess we'll see. Red's over here with the scout, just passing. Gonna attack that villager and be annoying. Meanwhile, this scout's moving around, pulling back to the camel in the night. Good work here from red. That villager's gonna end up going down. Forging definitely has helped out. Something Teutons do not get is they do not get husbandry. So the Malian player will always be able to outrun these units, which is an issue if you don't have monks. But you cannot show your monks right now. Apparently you can. I was going to say you don't want to do that because there's a scout, and red does it anyways. And gets a conversion. And blue realizes I have to kill that monk, but still, that is actually a very lucky conversion there. We have a sheep heist over here. That sheep heist might actually tell red what's up. You could tell red sent the scout to the corners of the map. And so red actually has a little bit of a lead now. I mean, it's a very close game and is going to drop a TC on this important wood line here. Red also might be setting waypoints to get the sheep home, which is kind of interesting. Blue got 2 relics so far. Now, most of you probably know this, but that gives you a trickle of gold. And when there's 22 relics on the map, that is a lot of gold income you could have. You could, in theory, just use one monk to collect all those, and it's bringing you tons of gold income. So it's, I think, worth it, especially if you're up against Teutons and you can't get conversions all that easily. I think it's worth it for blue to be making monks solely to get the relics. 32 villagers for both. I prefer blue's current position. But this is a dangerous, dangerous spot. Like, this DC, especially because you're adding more villagers, right? Like, these villagers, it's not all there is. And now, look at this. Now I start to prefer red's position. Red kills the monk after killing a villager. Red immediately drops the siege workshop, no surprise. Is here attacking villagers. I think blue doesn't even want to try and get conversions because Teutons are involved. Fortunately for blue, blue drops off relic number 3 and 4. And now has some monks on the door to deal with. I would really start to be sweating right now if I was blue. And the thing is, you kind of have to avoid this and pick away somehow at other areas of red's economy, I would say. And it's becoming very complicated because the wood's pretty protected and then the gold's pretty protected. So if you can't pick away, as I have been saying, you probably should just fight the main army, and that might not be possible. And look at red. Red's like, I have this locked down. Sometimes you have to think, what would my opponent be doing if this is, like, what would I be doing if my opponent was doing this to me? And so Guefi probably said, well, I'd be massing everything towards the TC, and I wouldn't be prepared for an attack on the other side. There was a new user on my YouTube channel. I don't remember this person's name. I cannot remember all your names. I'm sorry. But there's someone who said, been watching for a couple weeks, and it seems to me like a common theme in these high-level games is going to where they are not expecting it constant. That was essentially what was said. And sometimes it's not even where they're not expecting it. You have to keep them honest, I like to say. So, you know, you have to show up, and even if they have the army to defend it, make them defend it. That way they can't do what they want to do. 40 villagers right now versus 33, man. 10 kills for the underdog here. Power of Teutons, I'll tell you. Also, they have very cheap farms. But I'm concerned for red. Like, red doesn't have a lot of farming eco. Neither does blue, to be honest. But the food eco is still looking a little bit better for me. Bilbo Bagains, a scout opening is probably really good on Nomad. But you also could just go fast castle into adding a scout, right? If you have the food to go fast castle, I wouldn't shy away from that. An upgrade that I am in love with, that I've been talking about more and more over this year, is Sanctity. Giving your monks extra HP. It's such a good choice here. No Sanctity for Caput, but Caput might be down villagers, but did add the second town center. And does have 5 relics. However, needs to defend this area. And yeah, okay, so actually this was the third, but now it's the second. Because this TC's just gone down. I honestly am really curious how this game would have gone if that TC wasn't there. Because Red probably changed his entire approach because of that TC. Red might not have added Siege. We have a market for Red, probably to buy some food. Or balance out the eco in some way. There's actually not much stone on this map, I've noticed. So castle drops will probably not happen. At least not anytime soon. See, if you have Sanctity, you do not get one-shotted by a Mangonel, but you will get you will get hit in the second shot. And Blue's doing a smart thing here. Blue adds his own siege. This would probably make Red think about how do I deal with that siege when I have these monks and might get redemption. But it's also walled off. This is cool. Midna says, why doesn't he just scout the sides? Who? Which player in this case? Like, it's becoming a little awkward, right? Like, Red's push is very slow. I don't think it would be correct for Red to try and move away from this. I think this is currently fine. For Blue, though, I honestly, I just think the focus is on defense and maybe should shift to a bit offensive outlook here soon. Another town center. Like, you know, if you don't feel like you can deal with this, walling it out is accomplished enough. Maybe just consider running forward and looping around for the time being. Red's got 2 converted camels and like 1 knight. I don't think Red moving out is too wise. Not when you have a slow civ, right? If you're the Malian player, which can be a little bit faster with husbandry, then maybe it makes sense. Yeah, you try and be fancy and move around, and then suddenly they run right through their gate and into your base, and then you're kicking yourself. So, 33 on food. Some of that's boars, but still, I mean, the eco's looking really smooth for Red. But Blue's catching up, and Blue's getting relics constantly. And I know there's going to be some people screaming in the stream, and then maybe later YouTube comments about not picking up the relics. But again, similar to what I had said about, you know, players choosing not to move out for any particular reason, relics, you need to click them. You need to send them back to the monastery, and as you're doing that, while also maintaining your boom, sometimes you can struggle. So I think Red's like realizing, maybe I won't be able to push in much further. And now Red's going to start to get those relics. But what is the army comp going to be? Yeah, you can see the monks moving out here. Going to get those relics. The mindset has totally shifted. Love the outpost from Blue. I would love to see it on the right side as well. This will be interesting. So Blue's Mangonel is going to try and leave the gate. And sometimes you can lose it when you leave the gate. You can tell Blue's hesitant. Oh, Red noticed it as well. And ends up being 1 for 1. That was good all-around play there. I think Blue noticed that Monk was there. The Monk is on the way back with relic number 2 for Red. Then there's 3. Then there's 4 coming in. 76 villagers versus 60. Dang. Camel's also not a very good raiding unit. This is a unit that works primarily off of bonus damage. Red a little late to getting conversion with that one, but you have to do extra work by, you know, dropping the relic first. In the end, I think this is still going to be completely fine for Red, and that does also show Blue that maybe stone needs to be purchased or more villagers need to be sent to stone in this area. Because if the opponent's on stone, they could be thinking about a castle. I'm not sure I love this town center. It is obviously to secure a gold. Meanwhile, we've got a bit of a siege play on this side. Blue's very lonely with that Mangonel, though. That is an interesting town center. But it's very hard to play clean and just, you know, build up towards Imp. And you can't do that on a map like this. 13 relics collected across the board, though, guys. We've had 30 kills collected across the board. Yeah, here comes the knight. I'm sure Blue just forgot about this. This is very weird. Maybe just sent it there, expecting to send the camels over, and then forgot about it. But again, you know, there's a million things happening. We have chain barding armor now. So this is full attack and also full armor and castle age from Blue. Blue is really investing in the more stable units and stable upgrades. And Red really wants a monastery right here. Which, again, I'm going to have to question. It's a bit awkward. And Red's probably like, yeah, maybe it's not the best idea. Well, this TC being here is really good now. Like, Red is trying to switch to go to the Imperial Age and go into Pikemen, which is a great move against the camels that are out here. But the timing on this attack is really nice. I guess it's fortunate, though, for Red that these weren't knights, because if these were knights, more villagers would have died. Wood and food is going to be important with pikemen. Look at all these farms. Teutons are amazing with their cheap farms. Okay, pikes will be on the way, but it'll take time. Takes a while to get that switch going. TC fire, always very, very good, though, against camels. Again, camels are a unit, and they're just good against knights. They're not really great against anything else. They're not an all-purpose unit. It was costly there for Blue, who's still producing, and Blue is going to place an all-important castle on this side. Let's see how many villagers are coming. I'd love to see Blue send more, right? Like, 6 villagers? You better have the army to back it up. Red is building up the pikemen, but the pikemen are now coming here, guys. The pikemen should come here, too. From Red's position, the opponent was just here with a bunch of stuff with a lot of upgrades. Like, this is where I'd be focused as well. Oh, man, how important will these stone and gold spots be on the sides? Okay, it's just going to be one pike. Again, I'd love to see more vills. Here come the other vills. One pikeman's not going to kill knights with full upgrades. Now, some players would be tempted to immediately buy a castle and drop it back here. And then you can treb this down. But I don't think that's so easy. Not if your pikemen aren't here yet. And now Red has to go over there, grab the pikemen, bring them over. Meanwhile, we have more knights on the way from Blue. So Blue decided to put his foot on the gas a little bit more prior to the Imperial Age. And I'm always a big fan of that. Sometimes it can look really stupid, but look at the control you get. You can do things from both sides. And on an open map, it's normally a really good way to play. Now, how long do you want to produce these knights? Like, Blue's like, oh god, if this castle goes up, he'll treb me down, so Blue's going to force a fight. Is this a good fight to take? Probably not. Probably not the way to do it. The pikemen do get extra melee armor with the Teutons, plus it is a counter unit. But I can understand Blue's thinking there. I think, like, from what we know, it would have been really cool to see Blue loop those things back here and just keep Red a little bit more at home. We have 10 relics versus 8 relics collected of 22. They're doing a great job. Red needs to keep a certain number of those pikemen here to protect the trebuchets. And if you think about it, because there's only, like, I think 8 tiles of stone on the whole map, it might actually be worth it for Blue to have placed this castle and then lose the castle just so these resources can be taken. Especially if the knights continue to get kills over here. Look at the total villagers now. And now Blue's on the way to the Imperial Age. So I feel like Blue could probably repair this for long enough to just prep whatever the next choice is going to be at home. Now, I don't know exactly what that next choice is going to be, but in my mind right now, I'm actually thinking maybe you consider barracks. Pikemen obviously going to counter your stable units. The Gebetto is a really fun melee unit to make out of your castle that's good against something like pikemen, but there's only one pikeman here. So you don't want to commit full to Gebetto. But yeah, we have infantry armor coming in, and we have squires. So I'm going to assume this might actually be the champion line for the Malians. Great job from both players, though. This has been a really good game. This is awesome. And again, it's showing players that you guys might not have seen on my channel before. It's showing what talent these guys have. They've been speedy. They've made multiple switches throughout the game. It's been back and forth in the sense that one player will gain an edge, the other player will know how to bring it back. I love the raids from Kaput. I've experienced this guy a bit more than Gueffy. And he's just a fast player. Like, I don't know what they're feeding people in France right now, but the French people, or the French players, they continue to get better. I don't know if Sito and Margu are teaching those guys or what. And more knights running around. More idle time from Red. But still Red. Just holding. I'm not feeling that pretty, but now the castle goes down. Now these pikemen can move out. This small army could be very effective, though. This is still essentially a Castle Age army. For the Gabetto, they do ranged melee damage. And also, Pike's been converted there. And now we have the man-at-arm upgrade. Now, look at Blue's resources. You can tell Blue is so focused on the raids. And the Gabetto, they'll get some decent kills here. Ideally, you micro them more, though. I think Blue is currently prepping the barracks. Still running around with knights is lovely control. 145 population versus 135. Blue is the relic advantage. Now going to go heavy camel and also supplies. So it is going to be champion combined with camels. That's all gold right there. So we'll see if the Malian bonus of gold lasting longer really matters here. That's something I actually didn't bring up. I personally have felt very underwhelmed with the Malians ever since the devs removed the gold mining upgrades for free and gave that and the stone mining upgrades to Bohemians. Especially because the Malians don't really have the best late game. Like, they don't have Siege Ram, they don't have Hussar, they don't have, like, Bracer. But on a map like this, maybe it'll make all the difference. We'll see. I mean, Red's still trying to decide on how to play this. And Red only has 19 halbs. And Red is farming like crazy. Like, that seems to be where most of Red's speed is being put right now, is into the farms. But we will see. Definitely feel like hand cannons could be an option. Malians, the universities do research faster. So if you would go for something like chemistry, which normally takes a really long time, you could already have it completed and already making a bit of gunpowder. Again, 150 pop versus 140 right now. Look at the vision from Blue at the moment. So Blue sees quite a bit of the wood compared to Red. Red knows it's there, but I mean, in terms of what's happening, Blue's got lots of vision. Lots of vision in general for both players, though. Red, a little nervous, I think, about moving out here. And if you look at Red's scouting, Red didn't scout the barracks at all, but Red is sensing it's been awfully quiet out there. Right? It's been super quiet. And there's also no more knights anymore. So this is game sense from Gueffy. He's realizing my opponent's probably going to switch into champions. So why don't I switch into my own champions? And remember, the thing about Malian champion is that it has high pierce armor, so it's good against archers. But Teutons don't really have great archers. So yeah, champion in and of itself is a great choice against halberdier. However, if it's Teuton champion versus Malian champion with full upgrades and numbers, the additional melee armor that the Teutons get will be... Well, that combined with getting full blacksmith upgrades, because I think the Malians just missed the last one, should be better for the Teutons. All that said, though, Kaput is about to like make one of my viewers here very proud, who loves goth spam, and is just, I think, just gonna raid with champs. I think so, anyways. We'll see. I mean, honestly, could maybe do so now. It almost looks like Blue is waiting for siege of some kind to back this up. Oh, Red noticed it. Red noticed champion was in, and Red's like, oh boy, we're not ready for that yet. These trebs are going to be so valuable. Look at the amount of gold for both of these two. Look at the amount of food for Red. It's insane. Okay, backing up towards the castle fire. Very helpful. Teuton castles are no joke. Plus champions soon going to kick in. We have more barracks for Red. It's insane to me that these guys have been able to build up such large economies in such like a cramped situation. Banging out, getting some value there. Blue maybe forgot about this army. Would be lovely to loop in, but Red's waiting as well. So now one person has castle fire, the other person does not. Gotta think this is going to be okay for Red. Now they are Malian champions, and there was a lot of them. Still feeling like this will be okay for Red. as long as red gets the production here. Red's going to try and take that gold towards the middle. And actually, now that we're talking about gold, there's this gold. But, like, look at all the gold blue can still take. Blue's gold has really lasted a long time here. That bonus is actually working out quite nicely. 25 champions versus 40 on the map. Blue faster with getting the new units out, but red has superior upgrades. Champ Scarls are nice underneath the Castle Fire. Red's just going to back away. Red now also going for a stable. Now, something that, as blue comes over here to get the gold villagers, something that both civs could do is hand cannon, but something that Teutons cannot do is even get the light cav upgrade. And the Malians get Farimba. They get extra attack on their light cav. So I think it's a nice addition. Now, he's going to actually go Cavalier. It's a bit risky when Halberdier is out, but there's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors going here because the Cavalier will be very strong against the champions. However, the champions will be strong, with the champions you can bring the Halbs. Then you have your own champions, I guess, for Red's Halbs if you're blue. Again, it's tricky. Red's sick of waiting. Red's sick of waiting. Sick of giving blue time. Still focusing on melee champion right now. Is actually getting siege engineers. This is blue's only castle. Thankfully for blue, blue has been able to get a lot of the upgrades that are important there. But needs to keep the castle up for trebuchets and for good long-term plan here. And these cav, they have full upgrades. They have +7 attack, but the Teuton infantry's eating them alive. The combination of champions and halbs is so good. Meanwhile, blue's trying to push in, and we still have Malian champions, right? So how important will the Castle Fire be? Murder Holes is free, and you can tell blue's now like, I need to push this. It's not exactly working out now, is it? Their populations are almost identical in total count, but also with how many villagers and how many military units they have. And the Cavalier, man. The Cavalier could be so strong if they were to be used in the economy right now. Red has pulled all those halberdiers forward. In this situation, I think in an ideal world, just sending 1 or 2 is the way. Like, 1 or 2 is going to kill villagers really fast. And then if you end up losing your units to any defending halberdiers, it's not an expensive loss. Because you're bound to forget. Or be distracted. Pressure continues. These trebs have been so important. Okay, remember, red is, like, running out of gold. Just has this gold right now. And wisely walled here. Little raid pushing this way. Red could take this gold on this side as well soon. And not the fight you want to take right now. I know, like, blue wants to clear this so badly. But blue needs to wait for a few more champions. This is almost a 50-50 mix right now, isn't it? And red also is thinking about going for Cavalier. Okay, blue's going to dive in for these trebuchets. Could be an expensive loss, but there are champions behind this. Is clearly distracted at the moment from red coming in on this side, though. And Guefi seems to be pulling ahead in this game. We have a treb go down. There's only 1 treb remaining. But not a fight you want to take. Not a fight you really want to take. Has had such incredible macro this game. And more barracks are going to go up on this side. We have blue still with gold, but not sure which units to make. I think the halberdier champion composition is also a bit easier to... it's a bit easier to create consistently, because thus far, all red has had to do is make barrack units. So red just queues some halbs, and then queues some champions. Whereas blue has to go to a whole different type of building. Also, blue can't actually fit that next relic in there, which is funny. You can only fit 10 relics in a monastery. So what happens is it lets you put one in, and then another one pops out. This is a really good fight, though. There's one too many halbs here, so I think blue can clear this, despite the lack of blast furnace. This is half decent. Still some gold around. Still has more relics. Does use Cavalier to clear this up. It's 160 pop versus 150 pop. Red still with more trebs, but red starting to lose control a little bit. Like, throughout that time, I think when you gain that type of lead, you want to be pop capped, right? Before you make a tech switch, because you're floating resources. Didn't quite see that, and Blue's fighting back harder than I expected. Certainly harder than Gueffy expected here. The Cavalier will win a 1v1 fight. Like, one Cavalier will win a 1v1 fight against the champion. If you can get those engagements, it can work out. But Teutons have additional melee armor, so they are tankier than your average paladins. The big thing these guys are going to be contesting for pretty soon is going to be wood, honestly. Also, very sad there's not more stone on the map. I think Red would have been able to go for Teutonic Knights here. They do produce pretty quickly, so instead of going for Elite, you could probably just make regular Teutonic Knights and send them in. I think it's a very good unit to just mix in with the other units from your comp. Now, Shelob, I think, like, ships in theory could somehow be helpful, but it's just so much extra focus on another type of unit. Your focus has to be on this all the time. Not to mention that I think melee units could easily kill those ships as well, so... Red's going to clear this up, so Blue will start to lose villagers here, and Red is now also in the main point of the eco. And this is the most important part right now. This is where the wood is, and this is where the relics are. And at the very least, even just making sure these relics eject is going to be so annoying to the opponent here. That's precisely what's going to happen. The relics are going to eject. It comes at a cost, though. The Trebs will likely go down. 2 of them have gone down. Red will save the other one. Red saves the other one, and the GG is called, guys. We had this fight moving in towards Blue's eco. We had this fight, which would continue to move in towards Blue's eco. And then Red still had gold control on the right-hand side. Man, what a fun game. I'm trying to think. So, honestly, I mean, this could have gone either way. First off, I'm really impressed with both of them. And I don't mean this to come off as in like, oh, T90 underestimates players. No, not like that. So I'm not like, it's not like when I got a C in math class and my dad hugged me and said, good job, bud, I'm proud of you. Like, I'm not trying to make these guys feel worse about themselves, okay? I wasn't really proud of that C, even though that's kind of the best I could achieve. But anyways, it was a really good game. And the reason I say it was like better than I expected is just because of how many farms they had. Like, these guys are so close, and there were so many raids going on. In particular, Red, like, I know your farms are cheap, but 77 farms on a map like this when your opponent was raiding you so much is not something that I really expected. Now, guys, funnily enough, I think a position which maybe could have been more important, and it's hard to say, like maybe instead of Blue castling here, Blue deletes these walls and goes for a surprise castle right in the middle, right? Like a castle where all that farming eco was, because this castle denied some stone and gold. Obviously, there was a talking point, but I don't know, really tricky. I don't like the Malian's late game. I think the Malian's late game is a little weak, but I should probably circle back to, if we're talking unit composition anyways, the lack of hand cannoneers there for our Blue player. Red was pretty much only going infantry. And we saw how helpful something like Gabetto was, which isn't a hand cannon, but it's a ranged counter to infantry. I think hand cannons could have been an option here. And then, you know, if you have hand cannons combined with your Cavalier and your champions, sure, there's some awkward matchups with the Halbs being against the Cavalier and then your champions being a little bit weaker. But you're not going to get more castles on this map because there wasn't much stone. I think the hand cannon could have been the way to go. Anyways, it was a back and forth game. 397 kills, 382 losses for Red. Blue did collect more resources in this game, collected more food and more gold. And the more food is actually a really weird thing to see. When I'm looking at the farm count right now, I could have sworn that Red had more food. But, you know, maybe there were some other factors that played into it. Maybe some food was purchased or something. Relic gold was 10,000 for Blue and only 7,000 for Red, but Red was able to secure the economy a little bit faster. That was a fun game. That was a combination of two things that people really like to watch. Mega Random, which is always something different, but also Nomad, which, you know, definitely throws players for a loop.